Hello and good morning, everyone from Toronto, Canada. Thank you for joining us today in our year-end seminar. My name is Amir Ismail, and I'm a licensed citizenship and immigration practitioner recognized by the Government of Canada and an authorized immigration and citizenship representative. I am a member in good standing with the Immigration Consultants of Canada Regulatory Council and Canadian Association of Professional Immigration Consultants. And I'm also an authorized representative for the Antigua Citizenship by Investment program recognized by the Government of Antigua. In my 28 years of immigration consulting career, I have had the opportunity of assisting more than 25,000 applicants in their various immigration, study, visitor, and spousal and parental sponsorship applications. I have seen several changes in immigration law, policies and procedures since 1991. But the recent years in Canadian immigration industry have been unprecedented. We saw introduction of express entry file management system 5 years ago, the ranking system which transformed the way Canada chooses skilled workers. Due to this system, Canada has been able to target and select the most suitable candidates who can hit the ground running as soon as they arrive in Canada. While addressing the inherent problem of backlog that used to cause unacceptable delays in processing of applications, with processing time touching up to 7 to 8 years in some categories. Thanks to the invitation system and express entry, the processing times have been reduced to 6 months after the submission of permanent residence application. However, due to emphasis on factors such as age, education, and language skills, and the way points are allocated in the ranking system, a number of people do not find themselves accumulating sufficient ranking points, resulting in their profiles not being selected and eventually expiring in 1 year time. Today's seminar is going to focus mainly on other options such as provincial nomination or student visa, where applicants can get additional points and improve their chances of selection. But more importantly, today's seminar is going to be more interactive, as well as we'll be attending to your live questions at the end of the seminar, showing them right on our screen. But I'm more excited about the fact that we will be, in fact, bringing our attendees in camera with us right on this screen and have the opportunity to answer their questions on one-to-one basis. Needless to say, I'm very excited to do that, and I hope you will love this approach too. But before that, we have to endure the usual boring presentations and slides, because that is what seminars are supposed to be before we could jump into the interactive mode. So before I present you the agenda, let me wish all of you a very happy 2020 ahead. For those who are planning to apply for immigration or any other visa, I wish you best of luck. And I hope 2020 see your applications getting approved. And those who have already received approvals, we look forward to welcoming you here in Canada in 2020. We at AIA follow settlement-based philosophy, and that means our job is not done when you get your visa. We are here in Canada to welcome you and provide you all necessary support that may help you in settling in this country. We have also initiated a project where we are interviewing clients whom we have assisted in past since 1991. So that as successful immigrants can provide you the tips and guidelines in establishing yourself in Canada. Please feel free to watch those interviews on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel, as those are full of practical guidelines for newcomers or prospective applicants. So here's the agenda for today seminar, describing what are we going to cover. So we are going to touch base on various visa categories, but as I said earlier, we will allocate most of our time today in responding to your queries. Let me introduce to you the team that has made this seminar possible. Let me introduce you, first of all, our Pakistan Operations Director, Mr. Welcome, Khawaja Saab, from Karachi.
Well, welcome, Amir Saab. It's been always a pleasure.
That's great. And let me bring in our Toronto representative in Lahore, Mrs. Faria Hassan, as well. Welcome.
Hello, welcome.
All right. And we have our Manager Legal Affairs, Rija, Ms. Rija Amir, uh, also joining us today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us.
Are you guys excited for this interactive uh, session?
Yes.
Yes,
Great. Okay, wonderful. So let me present the agenda for today, and let me pull that up right in front of our screens. So outline of the topics that we'll discuss today would be, of course, about us. I have already spoken about it, that our company is a Canadian company and we are properly authorized by the Government of Canada. We've been assisting clients since 1991. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. You guys already know about us, and you can read about us on our website as well, www.amirsmile.com. We'll talk about the obvious express entry program and the PNP options, specifically the Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Ontario. So we're going to touch base upon these topics, very quickly. We'll also discuss about the student directed stream because as most of our clientele come from uh, the subcontinent regions. Pakistan has been recently added to the student direct stream. So this could be a good opportunity for students to come to Canada under this particular stream. And this could be even beneficial for mature students. Even that could be one of the options for immigrants who might not be qualifying otherwise, because eventually the student program gives you the opportunity to apply for permanent residence upon completion of your studies. And Faria Hassan, who has studied in Canada, and Rija also, who has studied in Canada, they'll be able to shed some light on the education system in Canada. And of course, if you are coming to Canada with your kids and they're college going, the benefits available to them, in terms of loans from the government and the subsidy the government offers to students. We're going to touch base upon that as well very quickly. We'll also talk about the business immigration program for entrepreneurs and investors, and that would also include not only Canada but also Portugal, and the direct citizenship programs such as the Caribbean program. So we're going to talk about those very quickly as well. We're also going to talk about why you need to speak to only regulated advisors and what is the difference between an agent and the actual member of ICCRC, because there's a lot of confusion going on in the local market when it comes to dealing with the right people. And we'll also provide you our contact details. So provide us with that option. And there'll be people joining with us as well, but we'll request them to hold off their questions. We're going to include them in the question period. So let's start with the steps involved in express entry. So Canada selects applicants under the express entry program, the skill Yeah, so let's go ahead, Numan Saab. Let's talk about the express entry selection criteria.
Yeah. Um, the express entry is basically selected based on few important and critical factors such as age, education, experience, and obviously they have their set of selection threshold as well. According to that, they select the candidate based on their own selection thresholds, and accordingly they pick the candidates. And the important factor is to make sure that to qualify in the express entry program, candidates should be ideally should be at the age like 33 below, having an education ideally bachelor's of minimum 3 years, or ideally a master's degree should be a good match for this. Thirdly, they should be having a good enough experience, like at least minimum starting with 1 year and up to 3 years ideally. And then obviously they have a good language skills to make sure they qualify into these program. And plus there are certain additional factors involved into this, plus you having a Canadian sibling residing in Canada, plus you have Canadian education, and other, if you are capable enough to give a write and French exam as well, that also be one of the additional factors to consider upon the express entry.
Right. Okay, so we move on to the step number 2. So, assuming that you meet the selection criteria for express entry, you can apply and you can be in the pool of candidates. But mind you, that that is not an application for permanent residence. That is only an expression of interest on your part to let the Canadian government know that you are interested and you are meeting the requirement. But step number 2, you need to have certain documents which are necessary in order to create the profile in first place. Although when you deal with us as your consultants, we in fact ask you to start arranging other documents as well, so we can save some time. But essentially, you need a passport available to you, language test result, which is the IELTS test. In most of the cases, there is a CELPIP test available as well, but a language test should be available with a minimum of 6 in each component. You need to also have your educational credentials assessed by one of the assessment bodies. We can explain it to you further once we deal with you, but you can also read online. If you have a Canadian provincial nomination that we're going to talk about later during this seminar, we would indicate and discuss about specifically about Alberta and Saskatchewan, and few uh, items about Ontario as well, and the written job offer from an employer in Canada, if you have one, which is usually not the case in most of the cases. It's difficult to get a job offer. Step number 3. Before I move to this step number 3, I'd bring in Naman Sab again in terms of explaining to us about the educational credential assessment, especially for clients who have studied in Pakistan, and they find it a bit difficult to get their educational credential assessment done because there's a lot of hassle involved in getting their degrees assessed. So you have an office presence in Karachi since 1991, and
Yeah.
you assisted a lot of people with your experience from Pakistan. Um, I believe you have the resources available to assist people in getting their educational credential assessed and have their attestation done for them. Do you have that service available? And if you can make it known to people?
Yeah, I'd like to highlight one of the main points here, because usually a lot of our clients usually based in Pakistan as well as in all over the world, their main concern is how we can get the degree evaluated from the process, the HEC and the other government bodies involved into this. So we have actually lined up resources for this, and specifically for those people who wanted to hire our services, and we try to facilitate them in a way they don't need to do anything. They just need to provide us the documentation and provide us their educational papers, and we try to facilitate them right from the start until the issuance of the educational credential assessment report. So we take it as an opportunity to guide them in that area as well, so that we can provide them with a one window solution at the end of the day.
I like the word one window solution, so one-stop shop that you facilitate your clients. So it's a good job that you're doing right there in Pakistan, representing AIA Toronto office, carrying the flag there. So let's move on quickly to step number 3. And I'm moving through quickly because I need to focus more on the provincial programs. And most of the attendees would be interested in knowing what option do they have. If they have low CRS score, if they are in the pool already, what can they do in order to get those 600 additional points if the province, one of the provinces, nominate them. Step number 3 is to submit your profile, of course, and if you're eligible, you will be accepted in the pool. And we talked about the eligibility a little while ago. So if you go in the pool and then you wait, and if you are selected through one of the draws, you can be invited to apply for permanent residence, and you'll have 60 days to submit your documentation. So we move on to step number 4 then, which is receive an invitation to apply for permanent residence. And IRCC, if you're selected through one of the draws, you have, as I said, 60 days to submit your application for permanent residence. And one needs to make sure that the application that you submit need to be complete, and the information that you have put in your profile should also coincide with the application. So we see a lot of people getting refused because of minor mistakes they make. They choose wrong occupation, they choose wrong job description, they choose or they fail to provide sufficient documentation to support the claims they made toward their educational qualification or work, especially the work experience and choice of occupation. And they do get the invitation, but then they get a refusal because they were lacking in documentation. The application was found incomplete, or the quality of education, the documentation was not up to the mark, and that results into the refusal. So the factors that Numan Saab talked about in express entry, the major requirements, the age is involved, educational qualification with ECA, language skills with IELTS or CELPIP, work experience, choice of correct NOC, as I emphasized, and if you have relatives, spouses, attributes, previous study or work in Canada. All these things are taken into account. And then if you have nomination as well, that would in fact enhance your chances of being selected. So that's how express entry works, basically. So moving on to the provincial nomination, I'd ask Naman Saab to shed some light on it. I tried to explain it, but let's have a word from him as well for the
Right.
nomination and the focus on a nomination. Which provinces are, you could say, hotcake right now?
All right. So as we have already discussed the express entry stream, since Government of Canada has already given an opportunity to the candidates to go and apply yourself into the pool, and there are lots of other provinces like we are discussing, that the Saskatchewan, Ontario, and Alberta. And the major hotcake, the word that you used, uh, uh, currently in especially in the era, if we have seen, like from specifically from this over in the year 2019, we have seen people get selected even on the low points ranking. That means low point ranking means low IELTS scores in each individual factors.
Right.
And these selection being done by the provinces, and this includes specifically Alberta. Had they been selecting candidates like 302, and they always been selecting candidates effectively and efficiently from July onwards. And we have seen there are a lot of couple of draws in a month, back and forth, and they've been selecting candidates all over. So we always been encouraging candidates to go and at least put your profile into the pool, so that you have multiple options to get selected from these kind of provinces, because these provinces has also linked with the express entry. And naturally we have to go into the pool and get yourself selected from these provinces. So specifically starting from the Alberta province and then Saskatchewan, Alberta is very actively selecting candidates with their specific occupation in demand list, and they have defined their list of their occupations, and they continuously picking up the candidates from those. Later on, and even in Saskatchewan, we have seen they have changed their occupation list, and they have devised this new occupation list specifically from September onwards. And now they are effectively picking up the candidates even from express entry and even from directly from occupation in demands category. So there are a little bit like if we talk about specifically Saskatchewan, let me just give you a brief idea so that obviously you can be explaining more in detail.
Right.
Starting up with like Saskatchewan is like picking up the candidates specifically like the age group in between up to 45, and the education ideally master's or minimum bachelor's 3 years, and with the lowest band scores in IELTS. That is something, it's an interesting factor you will be highlighting on. And further, they are picking up the candidates having good experience throughout their tenure. Obviously, you're at the age of 40 plus, so you must be having it, or you must have gained experience of at least 8-10 years.
At least
So yeah, exactly. So that's how they are picking up the candidates, and they are continuously and regularly conducting their draws, specifically from September onwards, and they are picking up the candidates effectively and sending their notification, and people are accepting and migrating through Saskatchewan.
Right. You're right.
So yeah.
I think very well explained. But the reason behind this change of trend is basically the immigration itself. It's a responsibility that is shared between the federal government and provinces alike. And provinces want to play their role in selecting immigrants, attracting immigrants, because it's a vast country with different geographical regions, and different geographical regions would mean different labor market needs. So, of course, the federal government selects the brightest and the best, but there could be some people who might not be scoring good ranking score on the federal skilled worker program, the express entry ranking system, but they might still be very useful specific to that province. Saskatchewan is one of the provinces where we are receiving a lot of inquiries, and Saskatchewan is actively attracting people, because most of the people, they go to Toronto in Ontario or Vancouver in British Columbia. These provinces feel deprived, so their way of attracting people is to, of course, nominate them and hope that they're going to stay back. So let's talk about the Saskatchewan nominee program and its nitty-gritties. We'll go over it very quickly, but we're going to cover most of the things in our question and answer sessions. So basically, there are two main categories in the SINP subcategories for SINP International Skilled Worker category. There is Saskatchewan Express Entry, and there is Occupation in Demand. In fact, there is one more, Employment Offer, but most of the people, they don't have the employment offer. So we're going to focus on Saskatchewan Express Entry and Occupation in Demand, and we're going to bring in Fajan Aman once again to discuss in detail. So basically, the SINP now uses an expression of interest system for its occupation in demand and express entry subcategories. So basically, you have to submit an application to SINP if you're selected directly from the express entry pool, or if you're applying directly to the province under the occupation in demand category. And it's a confusing provincial nomination program. People remain always confused about the qualification and the licensing requirement. We're going to try to explain it to you. So first of all, let's take up the express entry part very quickly. There is an eligibility requirement that you must have active express entry profile. So there you have it. If you don't have an active express entry profile, you're not creating one, or your profile has expired and you're disappointed and you're not creating another one just because of the fact that you feel that you're not going to get selected, you are making a mistake. Basically, you have to do it. Why? Because then Saskatchewan might select you from the pool. So let's look at further requirements. You must have IELTS as declared in your Express Entry profile. So, of course, when you create your Express Entry profile, you input your IELTS score, and we know that if you don't have at least 6 bands in each component, you can't create your profile. So that is one of the requirements. You have completed at least 1 year of post-secondary education. So if you have a diploma or a degree, that's good. You must provide the ECA as well. So obviously, if you have created the Express Entry profile, you must have created, or you must have obtained your ECA as well. If you are holding trades or vocational training as part of your high school education, you must instead apply for Saskatchewan licensure. So there's this licensing requirement that you need to fulfill if you're working, if your education has been in trade. And you must have at least 1 year experience in in-demand occupation in Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan, some in-demand occupations. So when you contact us, we, as part of our free assessment, look at your occupation, because it's extremely difficult to talk about each occupation. So instead of doing that, we make your life easy. You contact us, we give you an advice whether your occupation is in demand or not, or you can check online as well on the Saskatchewan website. Further, there are more eligibility requirements for Express Entry. You need to obtain proof of professional status for regulated occupations. So the occupation can be regulated or unregulated. If it's a regulated occupation, you must provide proof of professional status or licensure. So this is the point where people get confused all the time. Sometimes they feel that they do need a license before coming to Canada. But if you look at the requirement closely, you would see that in most of the occupations, what Saskatchewan is trying to say is that you get in touch with the regulatory body, you apply to them for recognition of your credentials, and get a response from them that your qualifications, your language skills, your experience meet the requirement to get licensed in Saskatchewan once you come to Saskatchewan as an immigrant. So people always ask, how can I get a license when I'm not an immigrant myself? I'm sitting in India, Pakistan, UAE. How can I get it? So they need to understand that process, and that means it's easier, of course, to get that recommendation from the regulatory body. But then again, the regulatory body also has its own complex system of recognizing or issuing that letter, where we come into play. We would be able to guide you on that count. So the next category is the most interesting category, which Namansa was talking about. It's the occupation in demand category, and it doesn't require you to have an Express Entry profile. So if you don't have Express Entry profile, you can still apply, right? And have a look at the requirements very, very quickly. That you need to have a minimum language score of CLB4. That means if you don't have good IELTS score for whatever reason, if your English is weak, or maybe your English is good, but IELTS score turned out to be lesser than what you expected, there you have your chance. You must have completed, of course, at least 1 year of post-secondary education. But even though you have not created your Express Entry profile, you still need your ECA. So the man on your screen, Khaja Numan, if you are in Pakistan, he's the guy to contact. He's going to get it done, even though you might not have created your Express Entry profile. He'd be able to help you. Let's have a look at further requirements. So basically, if you are into trade or vocational training, you must apply for licensure. You need to have at least 1 year of experience in skill or trade occupation. So there are different kind of occupations. There are skill occupations, there are trade occupations, there are occupations that are skilled but do not require license. There are occupations that are skilled that do require license. So we can talk about that later on in this presentation. You also need to have proof of settlement funds and a settlement plan. So one important thing that people need to understand is that these provinces, of course, are very cautious when it comes to nominating someone, because they understand that they struggle with retaining people. Although I'm sure Saskatchewan has proven itself to be a very good province with good job opportunities, as well as Alberta, but they want to ensure that you provide them a good, solid settlement plan. So it's not only about submitting an application, getting yourself selected, and then just getting approved. They would look at as to how do you explain yourself, how do you put yourself down on paper. course, when you are with us, we'll be able to help you on that as well. In-demand category, I said good settlement plan is required. And there's a selection grid as well. You need to score at least 60 points out of 100 on a points assessment grid. So all these things are complicated from the point of view of making sure that you qualify. It's not only the way people are promoting this program that, come over, we're going to put you in SINP. You need to evaluate yourself beforehand to make sure that you do meet the requirements, and then only give this option a thought. So which occupation are in demand? So we are going to be able to share with you the list of occupations when you get in touch with our Toronto office or Karachi office, or you can read them online. But what I can say is there are a lot of occupations that do not require any licensing. If you add these up, if we are looking at around 154 occupations, yours can be one of those. So you don't really have to go in the hassle of getting your licensing done. And if you look at these occupations, there are 30 occupations that are in managerial category. There are 23 occupations that are in professional occupations. And there are technical skill trade occupations. A lot of people, they contact us. And chefs and cooks are one of those, which would fall under the 101 occupations that are available under occupations that do not require any licensing, right? So this is wonderful. And then we go on with the next slide, which says, so I already talked about it, but these are the occupations which require you to have license, basically. So there are some engineering occupations which do require you to have a license before coming to Canada and Saskatchewan. But as I said, this requirement can be waived if you deal with the regulatory body, the Professional Engineering Association in Saskatchewan, and that association can issue a letter that you are scheduled for example, a test maybe, or your credentials have been found to be eligible for you to get a license, provided you come to Saskatchewan after immigrating to Saskatchewan or Canada, and you write that exam. So if Saskatchewan is satisfied with that letter of recommendation, you should not be worrying about it, right? So as I said, a trade occupation, there are 32 occupations available that require license, and other occupations as well. So there are more occupations that could be something that you have experience in. So this is something really good. Now, as I said, you need to have at least 60 points in order to meet the minimum requirements, and there is a separate selection grid established by SINP. And there are various factors, just like we have in federal skilled worker program. Educational factor, education and training, there are maximum points available. They allocate points according to your educational level. Then you have skilled worker experience, there are maximum 15 points, language ability, age. So here also, the better your IELTS score is, the better it would be, right? So maximum 20 points, age, connection to Saskatchewan labor market, and if you have a relative residing in Saskatchewan, that's wonderful. And there are total 100 points available. You need to score at least 60 out of those. So that is important. So let's talk about the selection factors. We have already spoken about it, but that's about it, about the Saskatchewan program. If you need further information about Saskatchewan program, you can always get in touch with us. You can send us an email or call us in Pakistan, in Toronto. We'll be happy to assist. But needless to say, you need to have express entry profile if you are interested in getting noticed by Saskatchewan, or apply directly under the occupation in demand category. Perhaps one of those are suitable for you, and we can decide on that for you on your behalf. That brings us quickly to the next in-demand or hotcake province, and that is, I would say, my favorite, Alberta. So Alberta is lately selecting a lot of people, and they recently had a draw on December the 5th with 400 CRS score. November 6th draw was also 400. But if you talk about the previous draws, they have gone below even to 301. That draw happened on May the 15th, 2019. And then July draw was 303. And then September 11th draw was 302. And we had more draws in recent times. Like, even on October 24th, we saw a draw of 300. They selected people with CRS score as low as 300. And, so basically the score has remained between 300 to 400 in recent times. And it's a good opportunity for all those who have that kind of CRS score. And we can perhaps assist you in that as well. But we need to take into account the fact that the Alberta province doesn't allow you to contact them directly. You need to have an express entry profile and active profile that is not expiring within 2 months, next 2 months. So say if you have an express entry profile and it's expiring very soon, within a month, so you don't expect Alberta would get attracted to you, right? So you need to be able to, either renew your profile quickly as soon as it gets expired, so you improve your chances of, getting selected by Alberta. So let's go and talk about Alberta a little bit. The eligibility quickly. Applicants, as I said, are sent a notice of interest if they have an express entry profile. So if you don't have an express entry profile, there goes away your chance of getting a notice of assessment from Alberta. So we encourage you to create the profile, and if you give us the opportunity to do that, we'll be happy to do it. If you must be working in an occupation that is in demand in Alberta, or in other words, your occupation must not appear on a negative occupation list, the occupation that are not in demand, in other words. So if your occupation is not in demand list, uh, uh, then of course you don't qualify. So basically that is one of the unique thing about Alberta, that you look at the not in demand occupation list first and see if your occupation is listed there or not. If it's not, it's a good news for you and you might get selected. So you, as I said, working in an occupation that is in demand in Alberta, have a minimum CRS score of 300. So if your CRS score is less than 300, you are out of luck. So I think most of the people, when they're applying, they usually have more than 300 anyways, right? Next slide is about the preference. Applicants with valid job offer, work experience in Alberta, education from Alberta, or close relative residing in Alberta are preferred. So, but we have seen that most of our applicants, our clients who have received a nomination from Alberta, they didn't have any connection to Alberta. That means that there is a tug of war going on between the provinces, and everyone is interested in attracting the best candidate. And in doing so, of course, if they confine themselves to selecting only those who have a relative in Alberta or Saskatchewan, or a job offer or a connection, they would lose on to big talent. So that is why there is a change. But factors that can increase your chances in Alberta nomination program. So as I said, express entry profile expiring in 3 months or less, work in an occupation that is listed in list of high wage and low wage occupations set out in the online Government of Canada refusal to process a labor market impact assessment list. I know it's confusing, but we can determine that for you as to what they are talking about. And on the Alberta Opportunity Stream ineligible occupation list, so there's an ineligible occupation list as well. So we need to take care of that as well. Or that has a high volume of submission across all AINP stream. So even if your occupation is in demand in Alberta, but if Alberta is receiving a lot of applications, or have selected a lot of people in that particular occupation, it's a high demand, high workload stream, they might not select you. They would emphasize on other professions. So that's about it on Alberta. So these two categories. Ontario, we can quickly go over it. And I understand that the CRS usually targeted is at least 400 in in Ontario. So can you give us a little idea about Ontario, Mr. Naman?
Yeah. Um, Ontario is basically the active program named as Human Capital Stream Program, where they are selecting candidates based on, in fact, through their express entry profiles. And we have seen in the past, Ontario have been picking candidates actively, specifically in the first quarter or second quarter of this 2019. And the upcoming year will be having for surely new quotas for new candidates. So
Right.
we are all expecting that new quota will be available and people can be availing that as well. But Ontario Human Capital Stream Program is been selecting candidates on a lower CRS, obviously, than the federal CRS scores that been like up to in between 435 to 445 we have seen in the past. And this has always been selecting and obviously always been helpful for the candidates in that parameter. Uh, Again, the criteria and the eligibility requirements for these for this program is again like the age group, ideally 32 30 below. These candidates having greater points in their age factor, like the express entry we have explained earlier, and the same like the education, ideally bachelor or master, and obviously the language is remain being the important factor into this Ontario human capital stream. uh, Obviously they are targeting those people who are better in English and come to us and economically contribute in that country. And yes, and any I don't know where we would like to add something more into this.
No, I
If
don't
there
think
is.
so, because it's a passive program. If you have an express entry profile, you are a potential candidate for Ontario. Now, moving on to the next topic, because we have to cover everything very quickly, because then we can jump to the comments. And people who are watching, we have a special discount available for them, because only those who are watching it live can avail that discount. So let's jump to our next topic of student direct stream. And there are a lot of students who are interested in coming to Canada as a destination of choice, and it also allows students to apply for permanent residence upon completion of their studies. And it is also a good route for the mature students if they are interested in coming to Canada and study here. Eligibility: if you are a resident of these countries, one of the following countries, you are eligible for applying under the student direct stream. And what basically the student direct stream is, that you have to meet certain minimum requirements that enables the visa officer to process your application quickly within 20 days. And they also, the chances of being selected are also higher because you meet those requirements basically. um, so if you are a resident of these countries, you can see China, India, Morocco, Pakistan, the Philippines, Senegal, and Vietnam. Um, so you need to have an acceptance letter from, of course, a post-secondary designated learning institution. So if you have admission offer, approval, acceptance from a Canadian institute, that is one of the major requirements. You have to get admission first, and our office can virtually help you in any university or college admission. We are based in Canada ourselves, so we have those connections here with all the universities and institutes that we've been dealing with since 1991, and we'll be able to get you that admission. Let's go on to first tuition fees. You must prove that you have paid the tuition fee for your first year of study. So in the normal routine matter, you basically pay the fee to the institute according to the policy of the institute. If they're saying quarter fees, half yearly fees, or full. But if you want yourself to be considered under the SDS program, you must have paid at least 1 year of study tuition fee. Next is living outside Canada. You must be living outside of Canada when you apply. So if you're already visiting Canada, if you're already in Canada, you will not be selected. You must have guaranteed investment certificate of 10,000 Canadian dollars. So basically, you transfer that amount to a Canadian institute, and we're going to talk about as to which those institutes are. But this is the main requirement, and this money would be utilized by you in your living expenses in Canada. That basically gives the visa officer the opportunity to evaluate whether you'd be able to sustain yourself in Canada or not, and separates genuine students from those who don't really have enough money to support themselves. So that requirement is separate from paying to the institute. You must go get a medical exam before you apply if you need one. That is the main requirement. You must get a police certificate before you apply if you need one. Most of the people, they do need police certificate. You must have your most recent secondary or post-secondary school transcripts. You must have a language test that's result that shows that you have at least 6 or higher in each skills: reading, writing, speaking, or listening on IELTS. And most of the institutes would require you to have IELTS academic route, academic track, right? So if you have at least 6 in each, you will be eligible. Additional documents would be according to the visa office of your jurisdiction. So there could be additional documents that the visa officer would require, and there could be additional forms even that you need to fill out in addition to what are available online on the main IRCC website. So you need to check that, and you must apply online for SDS. So if you're applying, sending a paper application to the VAC, that is not acceptable. You have to apply online for these purposes. And you need to provide a study plan, a good, solid study plan for yourself. And you must have research into your studies in your own country, explaining that why are you not pursuing your education in your home country, and why are you pursuing an educational qualification in Canada. And a good solid study plan is basically a deal breaker or deal maker. If it is not good, of course, it's a deal breaker. And as I said, guaranteed investment certificate, GICs, these are the banks that can help you. And our office can also offer coordination between these banks. And any one of these can be chosen for the purpose of GIC. I'm going to bring in very quickly Faria Hassan, our representative in Lahore, and I'm going to ask her about the student life in Canada because she studied here, and what facilities are available specifically to the immigrant parents for their children. Can they apply for loans? And is the fee as same as the international students, or do they get any subsidies? So if you can quickly brief our audience about it, it will be very helpful.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. Sorry. So,
Yeah,
as a local student,
actually, yeah.
sorry
So
about that.
what we would like to know is, there are student loans available, like in Ontario specifically where you studied. There is this Ontario assistance plan available. So is this helpful in improving your education qualification, because then you end up paying less, right?
So, as a local student, and you have to be as a local student and be eligible to apply for student loan, which is called Ontario Student Assistance Program in Ontario, OSAP.
Right.
So basically, it makes it easier for the local students, and like me myself, I went to York University and I did take help of OSAP, which made it easier for me to pay off the tuition. And there's a big difference between being a local student and an international student. So as an international student, the fees is a bit higher.
In fact, it's a lot, because that's
It's a lot.
they sell their education, right? Because and they of course assist the local students. So you did take the OSAP for yourself because it could have been unaffordable for you to. And then can the student pay it back in installments later on once they graduate?
Yeah, so basically, the Canadian government gives you like a margin to pay off the loan. So basically, if you graduated and if you're still looking for a job and you haven't gotten the job in your field, it gives you time for around 6 months to 1 year to
Right.
repay the loan. Or and if you do manage to get a job in your field, then and at the same time you're not able to make the full payment, you can always go for repayment assistance. And that is determined by your social insurance number. So this way they will know how much money you're making, your family income. It all depends on that. So for example, you can make from $100 to like $1,000 a month payment. That solely depends on your income.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that is very helpful actually, because a lot of people they think about immigrating to Canada, but they're also concerned about the university education for their kids. So
Hmm.
it's a big assistance. So yeah, thank you very much for your explanation, Faria. You're available. You're visiting Lahore these days, and we'll be arranging consultations in Lahore. And Khwaja Naman, our Pakistan Operations Director in Karachi, will be traveling to Lahore very soon. So you guys will be arranging consultations, and I'll be available online with you guys. So it will be a pleasure to go back to Lahore, the great city of Lahore, and assist our clients there. So with that note, I would invite questions now. We have a lot of questions accumulated now, and if you have questions, you can start pouring them in, and we'll attend to them one by one. So here it goes. Uh, let's start with question number one. So, okay, so question number one. There is Mr. Carlos joining us from Portugal. He's our representative in Portugal and assists us in the Portugal investment program. And we couldn't cover the business program, but very quickly I tell you that we also assist people in immigrating to Canada under the entrepreneur category, where you have a minimum net worth of at least $300,000 to somewhere around $800,000. And you need to invest the money. Lately, there have been some pilot programs specifically from smaller provinces, and where you can establish your company or your business in smaller communities with investments as low as $100,000. So it's a good opportunity for a lot of people to consider applying under those entrepreneur program. In addition to that, we also assist people in the European residence program, and these programs are by investment in real estate properties. So usually these start from 350,000 euros. You purchase a real estate property or a bond. You're given residence in Europe, and then, as you know, if you get residence in Europe, you have access to the European Union countries, and you can also get a passport later on down the road. And Portugal is one of the top countries to consider. But there are a lot of people who are interested in getting direct citizenship as well. So we are basically authorized advisors for Antigua, and we market their program with their permission. And that programs allows you to make a certain amount of investment and get direct citizenship. A lot of people consider those because those passports in Caribbean countries like St. Kitts, Antigua, um, uh, Dominica, St. Lucia, these programs offer passports, which in turn can be used for travel purposes. A lot of businessmen then can travel to UK and European countries visa free. So that is the biggest benefit of getting a passport directly in no time. Actually, it's like 3-4 months process. So this was the very quick brief of our business programs. If you are a businessman or an investor or someone who's interested in direct citizenship programs, please do contact us for Caribbean programs, including one new program that we are working on that is of Turkey. So if you're interested in that, we can also assist in that as well. So let's start taking questions now. And Raj Kusleri, thank you very much for joining us from UK. Say Rehan, welcome from UAE. Nur Khan has joined us from Sawat. Fasih K from Pakistan, welcome. Mr. Hirani from Pakistan, welcome. Arman Arif is from Pakistan, welcome. Rani Saab is asking about the SDS program, so we gave a full presentation on that. The comment was, of course, waiting for the last 1 hour. So we just displayed it. So I hope we were able to answer most of the questions in SDS. If you are based in Pakistan, please feel free to get in touch with our Pakistan office or send us an email. And we have a student assessment form as well available on our website, so you can do that as well. And Sayyid Rehan Arshad, good morning. Yes, good morning. Kashif Sattar is saying that he wants to apply for Canadian immigration and Australian immigration and skilled permanent resident visa program. Kashif, very welcome to contact us, but I would say instead of putting your foot into boats, you need to first decide which country, and then you need to see which country are you qualifying in. So maybe you're trying both the countries to see where you basically qualify, and you're just going to leave for that country. But do a bit of research to see whether the country where you're qualifying does suit you or not. So we'll be happy to make an assessment. The assessment is free of cost, so you can complete our assessment form or get in touch with our offices. They'll guide you with that. There is a question from Rehan, why visit visa are declined? So I would ask Khwaja Saab to answer those, and then I'll add more to it if need be, because he's the visitor visa expert.
Right. Visitor visa usually being declined of few of the factors. The major factor that we have seen and we have came across recently, that people are intentionally not disclosing the factual information to the Canadian offices, specifically putting up an example that you've been refused from one country, and people try to hide this information, and such kind of information act like a misleading information, and they refuse. Further, Canadian visitor visa, Canadian officers, your visa officers usually consider the applicant on few parameters, such as the purpose that you have to visit in Canada.
Right.
That should be strong enough. And to serve that purpose, you should have enough financial ties, or you have family ties, or you have some financial obligations here to prove that you're gonna go and then come back to your home country. It could be your financial commitment, it could be your family commitments.
Right.
But this, you need to make sure that it's, and the other way around, the other factor, they see that how good traveler you are, and how many countries you have traveled in the past, and they also look at those to make a decision and render their decision accordingly. So if you have covered these aspects, so perhaps there might be a good chance to get hold of the visa. Further, Amir Saab might highlight and ponder something more into this.
I would say, as a Canadian myself, and as someone who has been into this business for the last 28 years, as someone who has assisted numerous people in applying for visitor visa, I've seen that the refusal rate is higher for Canadian visitor visa. And it is because of the fact that Canada wishes to only select genuine visitors. They don't want people to just come in and show up and apply for asylum or something. So they are extra cautious. But in doing so, what we say in Urdu, गेहूं के साथ घुन भी पिस जाता है. So if you are a genuine visitor, you might get refused because the visa officer was not convinced, just because of the fact that you were unable to explain yourself in writing. You are not going in front of the visa officer. He is refusing you because he's just looking at your paperwork, and if the paperwork is not convincing, if you have not been able to explain the purpose of your visit, and if you have not been able to convince them that the ties to home countries are strong enough, no matter what you do, you will not be considered. So yeah, you can see this. There's a question from Maniza Kashif. She's asking how to contact you from Karachi. You can contact us directly from Karachi, but guess what? I maintain an office in Karachi since 1991. So they would be very happy to get in touch with you. I show you a slide with the contact information for both Karachi office and Toronto office. There you have it. If you are in Toronto, 100 King Street West, Toronto, Ontario, phone numbers are given. In Karachi, we have this office since ages. Suite number 706, 7th floor, Kashif Center, Shara Faisal. We have the number as well, 3565 286012, 3 lines. And then there is a cell number, 0300 251 6207, email info@amirismail.com. Regardless of where you contact, you can understand that the applications are being represented by me as your representative, and you basically can be rest assured that it's going to be a legal representation, not by an agent. Basically, it will be not a local agent, and it would be a Canadian authorized member of ICCRC. So rest assured, we're going to make sure that you are given proper representation. There is a very relevant question coming up from Kashif Star. If I don't have enough score, or if my score basically is less than 6 bands in IELTS, then is it possible to initiate process in PNP Express Entry program? I believe he can, because if you look at the Saskatchewan in-demand occupation program, the CLB required is CLB4, right? So we need to look at other aspects of your profile as well and give you an opinion whether you would meet the requirement or not. And that's how it is. Get in touch with us. Get yourself assessed. Someone is asking, can I see this video later on? Yes, it will be posted on our Facebook page as a recording, so you can see it later on. If you are in a hurry right now, don't worry about it. We're going to share a link later on as well. And Balcony is saying, hi, sir. Hello. I hope you enjoyed the seminar and our interactive session. Okay, so another question from Dura Volta coming in. 3 years of experience as computer operator in government organization, as well as having master's degree in electrical engineering. I know my degree isn't relevant to my field of work, but am I still eligible for Canadian immigration? Very, very good question. There are a lot of people who have a mismatch in their educational qualification and the work experience that they obtain. It entirely depends on you as to how you convince the officer in determining that you would be able to pursue your career, despite the fact that you don't have the relevant degree. And we have dealt with numerous cases of this nature where the educational qualification was different from their work experience, because you can go into other walk of life. Even in Canada, when you arrive here, you can go into other walk of life other than your education and work experience. Another question coming from Hissam Muhyiddin. He did his MBA Finance from Ikra University. He has more than 12 years of experience. He will be 39 on 30th of Jan 2020. So I don't know about your score right now, because we'll need you to provide us your information in the form of your CV and completing our assessment form. But I can see that because of your age factor, you would be losing a lot of points. And maybe you might not get selected under the federal program, but making Express Entry profile is the way to go. So first create your Express Entry profile, then we assist you in the provincial program. So keep your expectations straight, because if you have a lot of expectations from provincial program, that's also not a good thing, because that's not guaranteed too. Provinces have their own quotas as well. So if you have that thing clear in your mind, then you can always take a chance. And taking a chance is the key. If you don't do anything, nothing's going to happen, right? So that's how it's going to be. Okay, so someone reply you get, then please inform me. We've already given reply. Muniz is saying, where is your office? He just responded. Our office is in Kashif Center on Shara Faisal on 7th floor. Room number is 706, where Khwaja Numan is sitting right now, despite the fact that it's too late and he wants to go home. His wife is waiting, but we are just, we salute his determination that he's still available to participate in this seminar. All of you do ECF from CES. Well, not all of the ECAs are done from CES. CES is one of the bodies. This is also very critical decision. Sometimes we have two assessment bodies involved for one applicant. You will be amazed to know that. Sometimes we have four because maybe wife is also qualified. So it's not that you may just go to one. There is one. Of course, you have to choose one of the assessment bodies out of five for skilled workers. Then there are more for pharmacists. They have different. For doctors, they have different. So you can always get in touch, get our advice on that, and we'll be happy to advise you once you become our client, of course, as to which ECA body you should see. Okay, so Jangir is saying, is there an option to move from a city you have selected in PNP? Um, I think the question is, can they move out of that province that has selected them? First of all, when you're applying for the PNP, they demand you to provide them a very convincing settlement plan. That means you are sort of promising that you're going to stay back, and you come to that province and you would pursue your life. But having said that, there is no legal requirement to stay back in the province. By no means I'm saying that you move out. What I'm trying to say is, and specifically answer your question, is there a legal implication on you moving out of that province? There is none. But at least you should give a bit of respect to that province who has nominated you, got you 600 points, got you immigration. So you should stay back at least. Okay. So Shamsul Bardawar is saying basically it's easy for non-Muslim to go abroad. That's reality. Well, I would disagree respectfully, Shams, because Canada is a country that accepts people regardless of their race, religion, and background. And you can see two people on the screen. They're Canadians. They are, of course, come from a specific religious background and a specific skin color. Canada would welcome you if you meet their requirements, right? If you meet their selection criteria, it doesn't matter what you believe in. So I think I have tried to answer that question. There's a question. Shahid is saying that he has received an ITA from EI. Some information about the province has very low population. Any possibility that I can migrate to another province after getting PR? Shahid, there's loads of information available on EI. Just Google it. You'll find information on it. If you're asking my personal opinion, whether you should move to that province or not, I would rather be reluctant in saying anything about it because it really depends on your preferences. It's a province in Canada. It's a Canadian province. You will get all the facilities there. It may have less population, but sometimes less heads are better. If you have less people, it's actually good. So try that, and now you can, of course. And if your question is, can you move out? Yes, you can always move out. Ursulan is again saying that I wish to apply for Saskatchewan. You're very welcome to get in touch with us, and we'll be happy. Someone is asking, what is the difference between Express Entry and PNP? Very good question. I really wanted that question to appear. Express Entry is not a program itself. It's only a file management system that uses the PNP programs and skilled worker programs. It's only a file management system. There is no comparison to make. Express Entry is just a system where you upload your profile and then you apply under Federal Skilled Worker Program or Provincial Nomination Program. So a lot of people have that confusion that maybe Express Entry is a different program and PNP is a different program, Skilled Worker is a different program. So I hope, and please feel free to get in touch with us if you want to. We'll be happy. There's a question from Hassan Jalani. Anti-money laundering analyst in bank, can anyone tell me this occupation is SINP list? Yes, anyone can tell you. We can tell you as well. Get in touch with us. We'll check from the list, let you know whether you are in the list or not. We'll make your assessment as well, free of cost, without any obligation. And someone has already responded. Farooq Kamal is saying, yes, it will be under banking executive. Thank you for your assistance, Farooq. But of course, I'm not endorsing that advice. So if you want to get in touch with us to make sure, we'll be happy. Okay, so, and Farouk is saying best to ask Mr. Ismail directly on this issue. So thank you very much, Farouk, and thank you for joining us today, basically. And Sayed Hamid saying, due to overage, that is 43 years, which type of category would he select, SINP or PNP, Express Entry Program? So yeah, there is a lot of confusion going on, Hamid. Get in touch with us, we'll explain it to you. SINP is actually a PNP program. So there is no difference between SINP or PNP. So SINP, the Saskatchewan Nominee Program, is actually one of the provincial nominee program. And Express Entry is only a file management system. So it's not a program itself. So, okay, there's a question. I want Immigration Canada. Do you provide job letter? No, we don't provide job letter. We don't provide any sort of job letters. So I just lost the track of lots of questions coming in. My IELTS score is low, and I want to study in master's program. So if you want to study in master's program, you need to take admission first. And Project Hub is going to let you know whether it would be possible for you to take admission or not, because I guess you might be able to do it on conditional admission, provided you complete a language program in Canada. But he would explain to you further about it. Yeah, Faisal, do you have any input on it?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. With regards to the IELTS score that is low and getting a master's program, obviously, candidate there are few universities who also provide us an option to at least apply for an admission and even provide us a proof that you have studied in English. But still, they don't guarantee an admission. To people, is still, if you're not having a IELTS score that is at least 6 in academics, so you might have some trouble in gaining an admission, especially in studying in a master's program. But yes, if you can get in touch with us, we can see and search for the universities and providing an option for you to look into this.
Yeah, we can always figure out. And if you don't have that option available, we would say no. Don't waste your time, right? Someone is asking, she's 43, banking experience, 11 years, single parent, 3 kids. So yeah, she's losing a lot of points in the age factor, and we'll see.
Let me add one more thing here. Moniza could be a good candidate. I think she should get herself assessed. She could be an eligible candidate for Saskatchewan.
Yes.
Because people get amazed to know even at the age of till 45, they still have a chance in Saskatchewan province. So you're having a master's degree, having the age like 43, no worries. Just a little bit hard work need to be done to your profile, and I'm pretty sure with your photo you can still do it.
Yeah, you can do it. It's worth its while, right?
It's right.
Yeah, and people in Lahore as well, as Faria is. I think she's focused somewhere else. So she is in Lahore, and people who are in Lahore will be conducting meetings in Lahore with her as we are answering questions. There could be people who are in Lahore, and we can arrange further questions coming in from him. He passed masters in petroleum. He's 43. And again, the same answer, I believe that, it really depends if you're meeting the requirement of SINP. You should give it a try, because not trying is actually wasting time, right? There is a question coming from Mr. Kyo. What's the minimum requirement for investment program in Canada? How long will it take to get a PR? So there are various entrepreneur programs available. It range from investment of 100,000 Canadian dollars in your business in Canada. You basically need to provide a convincing business plan. You need to invest within 2 years of your arrival, establish the business, and you also need to meet certain criteria in terms of your net worth, which could range from 300,000 to 800,000 or even more in some cases. So it differs from province to province. And we can determine, we have an assessment form available on our website for business immigration. You can complete it or just send us an email at info@amirismail.com. We'll figure out which program would be most suitable for you. We'll do that. Question, Qatar. He's living in Chile and wants to move to Canada. He has experience of seafarer, 6 years on merchant navy. So, of course, he's not that rich, although this is the first time I'm hearing from a seafarer that he's not rich. But anyways, Iftikhar, you don't really have to be rich to come to Canada. Yes, the Canadian government requires you to have certain amount of settlement funds to bring in according to the size of the family. It's usually 13,000 Canadian dollars per person if you're single, and you can add $3,000 more for each dependent you have. So that is one thing. But of course, before you get to that stage, you need to know whether you are qualifying or not. So please feel free to get in touch with us for a free assessment of your eligibility. We'll let you know. Shaukat Mirza is also asking what are the requirements for investment programs. I hope I've answered that. Depends on your network, depends on your business management experience as well, by the way, because if you don't have business management experience, your own ownership of business and documentation to prove that you have managed a business, you might not get approval. Arbab Imran Khan is asking, what is the policy of job skilled workers after job searching criteria once the applicant would have completed? I don't know what the question is, but what I'm seeing is that perhaps he's asking whether he can search for a job. You can try your luck, Arbab. We don't assist in arranging jobs, so don't want to comment on it because I can't. I don't arrange jobs, but good luck in finding a job. Lal Kanaya is saying that he wants. You're very welcome to get in touch with our office. We'll be happy. But he has a relevant question that when he's filling out the form, the form is asking for the business experience, which he doesn't have. Then you need to provide us your CV for us to see whether you are a senior manager. Because if you don't have business management experience, business ownership experience, excuse me, you might still qualify under the business program if you have senior management experience in a large organization, or if you headed a department and manage people, manage material, finances, purchase of a particular department, you headed department sections of big organizations, you might still qualify under the business program, right? So we'll be happy to see whether you would be able to do it or not. Sayed Inam Shah is saying he wants to join September intake for Masters in Engineering, but don't want to take SDS program. As my IELTS score is low, so I have excellent study history, like 80%. So it would be possible to assist me for getting study visa. Okay. So yes. So yes, it could be possible for you to apply in the normal stream. It's not necessary that you need to apply under the SDS. We can do that for you. Get the admission, and we do. So we have someone entering the stream because we are allowing the participants to take part in our program. I don't know if Azhar Abbas is ready to join us. I'm going to add him to the stream, and he's here. Hello, welcome, Azhar. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So do you have a question to ask so we could answer that on a screen for you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, perhaps the sound is not very clear. Maybe the internet connection. Yeah, we'll try again. Sir.
Sure, sir. I'm here.
Okay, yeah, or you can write a comment and I can add your question on the screen for you. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So that was not that useful for him because the internet is slow. Okay, so we have more questions coming in. There are a lot of questions coming in. We'll be wrapping up very soon, but we'll make sure that we attend to most of them as we can. Question coming from Rashid Mir. He has 4 years degree in communication design, graphics, and advertising, and has 20 years of experience. His age is 43. He can apply for PNP. So of course we can determine whether he is a good candidate for one of the programs, depending if he's meeting the selection grid for that program. 60 points in SINP, for example, whether his occupation is in demand or not, whether he should go ahead with the express entry stream of a PNP program. So get in touch with us. We'll share with you our details, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so is there any option to get skilled immigration with 6 bands in IELTS? I'm ACCA member, almost 6 years experience as accounts manager and 33 years of age. Which PNP should be best option for me? So yes, again, the same solution. We can make an assessment. I'm sure that you are in demand in Alberta because Alberta has been selecting a lot of people from finance background. And SINP could be one of your choices as well, for sure. So yeah, you might have 6 bands in IELTS, but we can see whether you would be able to make it or not. Get in touch with us. We'll be very happy to assist with your plans. Another question coming up. 5 years banking experience. Get in touch with us. We'll be happy to assist and make an assessment of your eligibility if you have not already done so. There's a question coming in. Shahid Malik is saying he's Pakistan, Sindh, Hyderabad. He worked in Malaysia, but he's blacklisted for 5 years from Malaysia. I have 3 years diploma. My age, a 26-year-old, I can apply for Canada. So basically, if you have any record in any country, it might affect your Canadian immigration chances. It's a complex area of admissibility. You don't want to waste your time and money by applying directly to Canada. You must know whether your past record might have a bearing on your future Canadian immigration applications. It's very important that you find the solution by way of having a consultation with someone knowledgeable. You can get in touch with our Karachi office, Khawaja Noman, and he can coordinate your consultation with us in Toronto, and we can review the whole background of your case, what happened, what transpired, and will it have an impact on the prospects of your Canadian immigration applications in future. It's very important that you do that, and we'll be happy. Sayyid Mashood is saying he's 47. He has family in Ottawa, 2 sisters. He's an accountant, and he's BCom, wife is BSc Mathematics. Appears to be a promising case, save for the fact that he has got 2 years bachelor's degree, which is usually considered as a 2 years diploma in Canada. So we'll have to look at his eligibility, and he's also losing some points in the age factor. So Khawaja Noman would be able to make an assessment for you if you share your details with us on our email address, or get in touch with them on phone, or fill out our form. So for PNP replied, does my partner also need to appear in IELTS? I don't think so. In that you need to, most of the PNP programs are focused on the main applicant. So you don't necessarily have to, but you might want him to do it, because maybe if you need to enter the express entry pool to get selected by that province by way of express entry, you need to meet the 67 criteria, and language score might help, right? So by all means, encourage him to do it. It's not difficult. Whatever band score he gets, it might be helpful. Okay, so that's how it is. More questions. Minimum miles required for immigration. I have 8 years of experience in sales and marketing, MBA. So yeah, Khawaja Sahab, would you like to take this up? Minimum IELTS required, very quickly. Let me just bring him in. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead now.
Okay, so the minimum IELTS requirement for immigration, specifically the PNP that we are talking about, that is Saskatchewan,
Yes.
You should target at least 6.5 at least in all of the areas, and specifically in listening 7.5. That's the maximum. That's the, I would say, the where you can gain maximum points in the language factor. Right. As we have explained you earlier in our presentation, that you can even score CLB level 4 and 5 also to qualify, but obviously we need to take account all other factors that you have mentioned. Ideally, you should target these band score, which I told you. Perhaps you could be a good candidate to apply.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much for your response. Big question coming up. Amir Saab, please address this question. What if the fiance of any person has just intermediate education and her partner has ECA masters with 29 years of age, what is the better option applying to Canada, single or getting married? If single, how to add your partner after receiving ITA from EE or PNP profile? Does it affect the process or what? Please guide. Thanks. Okay, so it really depends on your situation because we don't have the full background of your situation. We are unable to give an opinion on casual basis because that opinion might affect your decision, right? So I think it might be a good idea to set aside time and speak to one of our representatives, either in Lahore or in Karachi, or with us directly. They'll be able to set aside time for you and look at the whole picture as to what your CRS is, how would it impact your CRS, and then you can make a decision accordingly.
Sure.
So, it might be useful that you add her, and it might not be useful that you add her as a spouse, But anyways, you're not getting married for the purpose of immigration, right? So take this decision, whatever decision you wish to take. So let's see. I've done MPhil. Will experience after BS also be counted, or only after MPhil experience will be counted? But if your work, and if that work is meeting the work definition, it might be counted, but not necessarily. We have to look at the work document you have. Again, it is very important that you speak to someone knowledgeable and someone who is trained in reviewing the documents and give you a proper guideline if that experience is going to be counted or not. It's very, very crucial for you to ensure that that experience is counted. Okay. Again, a big question coming up. Can you please explain the study gap? If somebody has a 4-year study gap, but during these years he has been getting experience, can the study gap be better covered with experience gain and he has got admission in a college in Canada? Again, if you have a study gap, doesn't mean that you would be refused, because Canada is looking for genuine students. You might have genuine need of upgrading your qualifications because that might help you in your career growth. You have worked for 4 years. You might be able to improve on your work experience, your grooming when you go back to your home country after receiving your Canadian credentials. So study gap, yes, they need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed properly, especially in the study plan. So I can't emphasize more on that your study plan should be very, very good. Okay, so there's a question that everyone asked me: should I contact your Toronto office, or he can contact, or someone can contact your office in Pakistan for assistance? You can contact anywhere. It would always be Amir Ismail, right? So because we don't hire agents, right? The office in Pakistan is my own office. It's not an agent, right? So when it comes to agent is actually someone who is signing an agreement with an ICCRC member like me. I don't do that. I have never appointed an agent ever in my life, 28 years. And I would never do it because agents are not ICCRC members. They can do whatever they wish to do, and ICCRC has no comment, no control on agents. So basically, you can get in touch with any of my 2 offices, Toronto or Karachi. They would always connect you to me. So it's all the way a properly authorized practitioner assisting you, not a local agent. Okay, so On is saying, I have BB honors degree and have 4 years of experience of bank. How much minimum IELTS band is required for me? My wife has IELTS of 6.5. My age is 27 years. Please guide. So basically, when you ask the question, how much bands do I require? I would say you can't determine your own bands, right? When you say how much should I score, you're not making the decision. You basically need to do your best. You need to target 9 out of 9, because if you target 9, you can get whatever is best for you. Of course, you're not going to get 9. Some of clients we've seen, they score 9 out of 9 straight. But if you set your standard lower, then you end up scoring even lesser. So if you set your standard to 6, you might end up scoring 4. So might be a good idea that you. But yes, for the expectation purposes, Aman Saab already explained to you that you should at least get 6.5 for a respectable CRS score, so that a province could select you. So it's very, very important. And I'm sure we're getting similar inquiries from Lahore as well. And Faria is located? And her response would be the same. Go ahead, do your IELTS, and get back to us with your score, and let us help you. I got 67 SINP still waiting. Yeah, it's a wait game for a lot of people, Numan, because it's not a short thing, right? You can't basically expect that it's a guaranteed thing or sort of thing. If you are an express entry pool and you also apply for SINP, it's not necessary that they are going to select you. They also have a limited quota, and that limited quota, of course, needs to be addressed. Okay, so I think we are almost done with all the questions, unless I have missed few in between somewhere. Otherwise, I think we are mostly done with all the questions. Okay, so I think everyone has received all the answers, but it's been wonderful to have all of you in this seminar, this year-end seminar. And we thought it appropriate to have it before I travel to Middle East and Pakistan, so that we can be on the same page in the year 2020. And okay, so I think we are missing out on a few of the, as we announced that we are just leaving, people started pouring in their questions. Memuna is asking, will spouse experience outside Canada count it? So if I'm understanding correctly, Khwaja Sahab, she's asking if her spouse has experience gained outside Canada, will it be counted? It will be counted, right? Depending on in which category are you applying. Canada experience class, if it is Canada experience class, so maybe that also might be taken into consideration, but I don't know what the exact question is. We'll see. There's another question. What is the opportunity for electronic engineer having 8 years of experience? Good opportunities. We recently interviewed one of the clients that we assisted in immigrating to Canada, and he's a successful electrical engineer. Please feel free to watch his interview. The good opportunities for electronic and electrical engineers, they are in good demand. Okay. UAE, Rana Osman, any visit soon? Very, very soon. It would be very, very soon. So we'll make an announcement. We'll be in UAE soon, and we'll be happy to meet everyone there as well. Okay. So I'll show you the slide once again for our contact. But before I do that, those who have remained online with us from start to finish, they are eligible for a very good offer from us, and that is in celebration of the 28 years we have spent in this industry, and it coincides with 2020 and 20% discount for all those who are watching this, and it is available until 20th of December. So I'm going to show you that slide now. So we have this promotional offer for webinar attendees. By the way, 20th anniversary is in Pakistan, by the way. So the Pakistan office is 20th anniversary. So it actually matches even more, 20, 20, more 20. So it's like 3 20s in it. So, and it will be for first 20 applicants as well. So there are 4 20s. So if you are interested, get in touch with us, or if you have already been assessed by our office, then it might be a good idea that you make that decision right away, so you can gain that offer, right? And let me show you this slide for our contact in Toronto. Phone numbers are on screen, and Karachi as well. The email address is also there. For those of you who have not been able to answer, we'll be able to do that on email or phone if you like. I might want to take. I'm actually tempted to take one more question. That's from Ali Lagari. If you don't mind, Khwaja Sahab, I know I'm delaying you. It's getting late, but let's answer that. It's a good question. Cost management accountant from ICMA Pakistan, and wife is qualified pharmacist. So both are qualified for work in Canada. We need to complete relevant education from Canada, or can be applied directly. You can apply directly. You can get immigration. You can come to Canada without having a license to act as a CMA, CGMA, I would say, Certified General Management Accountant, or a pharmacist. But in order to work in your profession, you need to get licensing done, and there are programs available, bridging programs available for internationally qualified graduates in particular occupations, and you'll be able to do that. And in fact, you can do a bit of paid work even before coming to Canada. So that can be done. So no worries. As long as immigration is concerned, you would be approved on the basis of if you're qualifying, of course. But there'll be no hindrance, no hampering due to you not having a license at the moment. Okay. So Farouk is asking, he already has 3 years experience. Will additional experience give him more points? It might, because if in PNP, certain PNP programs, if you have more experience, it's better. So yes, if you have more experience, might improve, but 3 years should be sufficient for you to go ahead and apply, right? Instead of waiting, because it's actually a catch-22 situation. If you have more experience, then you're losing points in the age factor. So instead of waiting, maybe it's a good idea that you do wait. There's a technical question coming in from, again, Naman, saying he has already done his ECA from University of Toronto for both BS and MS. Unfortunately, BS EC expires, but MS is still valid. Am I eligible? Again, we need to look at your details, because if you do that, then we'll be able to say whether only your MS ECA would be sufficient or not. I'm sure it should be sufficient, because that's a higher degree. But let's be sure about it. Lots of questions coming in. Again, Shafia, so what other options do dentists have other than EE? PNP is out of question. Shafia, there are only 2 options, as I know. You can apply under Express Entry, but Express Entry is not a program. It's only a profile. You submit your profile, then you wait for your selection by the federal government under the Federal Skilled Worker Program, or you get selected by a province, or you apply to a province directly as well, if you wish to select a category that doesn't require you to have an Express Entry profile. Big question coming from Motaz Jamal. He is 33 years old. He's done MPhil, 10 years experience, and he's got good profile. So we'll see. We would invite him to submit our assessment form to us for our team to have a look at his eligibility, and we can. So he's saying which experience will be considered. That's the specific question. 3 job market, right? So yeah, it's something that is very common. People have experience in more than one occupation, and when it comes to us, we basically nominate the best occupation, the primary occupation, and then the rest of the occupation also taken into account. When you work with us, we will take away that pain from you, and we will make sure that we choose only that occupation that gets you maximum consideration. And then Sakib is asking, ECA required for only highest degree achieved or for every education? Well, it also depends. It's sometimes the highest degree ECA is sufficient. Sometimes you go for individual ones, and Khwaja Saab is an expert in doing so. When you get in touch with our office in Karachi, he would be happy to guide you on that count as well. Ayaz Ali saying he's got oil and industry experience, geology masters, 14 years experience, mainly health and safety. Yeah, so basically the occupation is not an occupation-based program anymore. Canadian immigration is more focused on your skills. But yes, some provinces, they choose applicants on the basis of certain skilled worker list. If your occupation is there, you are going to qualify, and we can determine that. And one last question that I'm taking from Rashid Mir is, any Islamabad contact? Well, we are based in Toronto. Get in touch with us in Toronto. And I would recommend anyone who's interested in migrating to Canada. Immigration is international matter. Your consultant need not be local. I maintain a Karachi office for coordination purposes rather than allowing them to act as immigration consultants themselves. Your immigration consultant should be a member of ICCRC, not an agent of ICCRC. So a lot of people misuse that term. and they need to be Canadian citizens based in Canada. So if you want the contact information of a local person, I can't give it to you because I don't rely on them. Simply, I encourage anyone who's interested in applying and they want to have our services, deal with us directly or coordinate with our office in Karachi, because that's my own office. It's not an agent. So do that and be very, when it comes to dealing with a local agent. I don't know. We need to wrap it up quickly. There are more questions coming in. Fawad Raja saying, master's degree. So we can't make assessments right now. I understand you want to know whether you qualify or not. We have a form available. Fill it out. We'll make an assessment, let you know whether you qualify or not. Similar question from Tereem. She's saying she's a teacher. She's completed her master's in 2015. Husband is marketing manager, graduate. Both are 33 and have 2 kids. How can we apply for Canada? Tereem is a very good profile. Both of you are qualified. Both of you are young. If you complete our assessment form or get in touch with our Pakistan office, if you're in Pakistan, they'll guide you. They'll give you proper guideline. They'll give you an honest opinion about your eligibility. And if there are any shortcomings, they can always give you a frank opinion as to what you should do. And there is another question coming from Zuhaib saying he's an architectural engineer with 7 years experience, asking to guide for best PNP program suitable for him. Please get in touch with us. We'll work with you. We'll see which provinces have the architectural engineer profession listed, whether there are any licensing requirement, any certification requirement. We'll work with you. Once we are on board, everything should be okay. The hassle will be taken away from you. You sit back and relax and get benefit from our 28 years of experience in this field. Hayat Khan is saying more than 7 years of experience in stock market with an MBA degree. Good profile. Get in touch with us. We'll let you know whether it's saying, does GPA matters for MS, and what about bank statement? If someone has 5 years of field experience, then what should he do? Does study visa ratio more or skill visa? Well, it is a question that is, of course, in comparing 2 different categories. We need to see whether you would qualify under the skilled worker category or not, and then we can advise you. Student visa, of course, it's temporary visa. The refusal rate is on the higher side. Shafia has another query. I have another query. After getting 1 year continuous work experience in the field of our chosen NOC, can we work in a different NOC to gain work experience but gain points for the primary NOC under which we will apply for EE? I think, yes, you can do that. Not a problem. You can change your occupation, but still can claim points in the work experience or the NOC you've chosen as the primary occupation. Okay, so there's a question. So where is your office in Karachi? Please share your email ID. Thanks. Khwaja Saab, that's your office. You can tell them where are you located. So they know you're located in Karachi since 1991. And how can they approach you? Oh, wait, I'll unmute you because there was a lot of background. You are right on Shara Faisal and we get a lot of sound.
Yes, that's right. We are right on Shara Faisal, adjacent to Hotel Meran. There is a building, Kashif Center. We are on 7th floor, 706. Feel free to contact us. You can contact us on our number that is 0300 251 6207. You can contact us. You can email us at info@amirsmile.com. Feel free to contact us. We'll line up our meetings and assist you in that for sure.
Okay, that's comprehensive. And this is an office that was established many, many years ago, has seen thousands of people immigrating to Canada from Pakistan, from this particular office. So I'm very happy to have a very, very good team. And I'll just show you very quickly the team that we have in place so you have an idea. So let me just remove the comment and let me show you. So we have me, myself, the director of Pakistan operation. We have Rija, who joined us earlier, manager legal. She had some legal matters to attend to, so she is not available right now. But we have Faria Hassan, regional director, Canada. She is in Lahore these days. We have Hania, operations supervisor. We have Shaista, director, Toronto office. We have Zuhaib Heather Zedi, Senior Operation Executive. We have Sundas Gul, Operation Executive and Social Media Coordinator. We have Aisha Amir as Research Associate. We have Rochelle as our Client Care Executive, and you'll be getting in touch with her more often before you reach out to Khwaja Numan. We have Brett Alexander, Administrative Officer. He has been with us for many, many years, 15 years to be precise. And we have Michelle Reynolds as well on our team. So these are all our team members, and I'm not talking about the liaison officers that we have across the world. So they all, like, one of them joined us earlier as an audience, Mr. Carlos in Portugal. So we have those as well. So that's how it is. It's been a pleasure having all of you. And there's a message for you, Numan Sab, from Zohaib Ramzan. I have sent the details previously on your prescribed form, but didn't receive any response. Please look into this matter. If you haven't received your response, I apologize for that. We will certainly look into it, get back to you, and you have the local numbers, right? Get in touch with us. Pick up the phone, call Khwaja Numan directly, and he will be happy to respond to your queries. In fact, invite you on a cup of tea to our Karachi office. And the second cup of tea would be in our Toronto office whenever you migrate. Okay, wonderful. So pleasure having you all, and thank you very much, team. Faria Hassan, thank you very much for joining us. Numan, Khwaja Saab, thank you very much for joining us from Karachi. Both of you are sitting late for us. In Toronto, we have just started our day, so we have to spend that, although it's a holiday today. And we'll be in touch with all of you. Please feel free to get in touch with us. And from Toronto, Canada, we say goodbye to you.
Bye.